The entire planet turns toward one tournament. Billions of people will watch grown men chase a ball across the grass, and almost every one of them will misread what they are seeing. They will call it talent. They will be wrong. Talent makes people notice you. Obsession makes people unable to ignore you. That single difference decides who lifts the trophy and who watches from the sofa. It also quietly decides which version of your own life you end up living. The World Cup is the most watched stage on Earth. For 1 month, the greatest players alive perform in front of everyone, and the brightest lights expose what the highlight reels hide. Talent is only the invitation. Obsession is the private, repeated work that turns a rare gift into a result the world cannot deny. Most people never learn that difference, so they spend their whole lives admiring the goal and never building the thing that made it possible. You already know this feeling, even if you have never touched a football. You have watched someone live the exact life you keep promising yourself. You felt that tightness in your chest, a mix of admiration and quiet shame. You told yourself you could do that too, with the right break. Then you closed the laptop and the feeling faded by morning. That is the gap this tournament puts under a microscope. Out on that pitch stand, players who felt the same pull as you. The difference is what they did with it when nobody clapped. While you admired the dream from the outside, they were already inside it. Cold mornings, empty pitches. The same movement repeated until their body stopped thinking. They did not wait to feel inspired. They built a private world that the cameras would only discover years later. Picture the version of you that watches every final and feels the same ache. Now picture the version that trained on the mornings the ache showed up. Those are two different people, and only one of them ever gets called. Be honest with yourself for a second. When did you last practice something on a day you did not feel like it? Not thought about it, practiced it. Reps, when the motivation was gone. For most people, the honest answer is uncomfortable, because admiration is easy and obsession is expensive. And the World Cup belongs to the people who paid. Obsession has one strange property. It looks insane right up until the moment it looks inevitable. Before the trophy, obsession looks like imbalance. People say you care too much. They tell you to relax. Some of them quietly worry about you. The player who stays alone after training looks strange to everyone watching. The one who studies his own footage at midnight looks obsessive, because he is. Then the tournament arrives. The exact same behavior earns a brand new name. Now the world calls it discipline. Now they call it greatness. Now they call it genius, as if it fell out of the sky. The obsession never changed. Only the result changed, and the result rewrote the whole story. This is why so many people stay stuck on the outside, admiring. They want the kind of obsession that arrives after the applause. They want to be called disciplined without paying for discipline first. The World Cup does not run backwards. The work comes first, in private, while it still looks crazy. The recognition comes later, in public, once it finally looks obvious. The world only sees the goal. It never sees the obsession that made the goal possible. Pause for a moment, because this matters more than football. If you feel that pull and refuse to keep admiring from the outside, there is a room built for you. It is called the 1% Club at school.com/VYBO. Inside, you get deeper conversations, real accountability, and lifetime access to every VYBO course and resource we build. It is where admiration turns into obsession. Now back to the pitch. Talent is the most dangerous gift a person can be handed. Because it works too early, the talented kid scores without trying while everyone else struggles. Everyone praises the gift, not the grind. So he learns a quiet, poisonous lesson. He learns that results are supposed to feel easy, and the moment things stop being easy, he assumes something is wrong with him. Watch the group stage of any World Cup closely. You will see gifted players who coasted their whole careers suddenly freeze. The pressure rises, the gift stops being enough, and they have nothing underneath it. Meanwhile, a less gifted player keeps performing. Not because he is calmer, because he has done this exact moment 1,000 times in the dark. His body already knows what his nerves are screaming about. That is the cruel math of the tournament. Talent is built for the easy minutes. The minutes that decide everything belong to obsession. and the world, watching at home, only ever sees the result. Think about what practice actually means to each of them. Talented people practice when they feel inspired. Obsessed people practice until the result feels inevitable. That is the entire difference, hidden inside one ordinary word. Picture a pitch just after sunrise. The grass is still wet and the stands are empty. One figure is already out there, alone, running the same move again. Left foot, right foot, strike, reset. Again. His lungs burn and his mind wants to quit. A small voice says you have done enough today. He ignores it and resets the ball. Nobody is filming this. There is no crowd, no anthem, no prize in the air. There is only a man and a movement he refuses to leave imperfect. This is the footage that never makes the highlight reel. This is where the goal you will scream about in July actually begins. The talented version of him went home an hour ago, satisfied. The obsessed version is still here, dissatisfied on purpose. And dissatisfaction, aimed correctly, is the engine the whole tournament runs on. The world only sees the goal. It never sees the obsession that made the goal possible. Now this is the moment everything has been building toward. Every player in this tournament once prayed for this exact stage. The lights, the eyes of the world, the chance to be remembered. And this is where most dreams die. Because the moment you prayed for is also the moment that exposes you. Imagine the penalty. The score is level, and the whole tournament narrows to a single kick. He places the ball on the white chalk and steps back. 100,000 people are screaming, and somehow he hears none of it. The noise collapses into a strange, ringing silence. There is only the ball, the painted line, and the keeper shifting on his toes. His heart slams against his ribs. His legs feel like they belong to someone else. This is the instant talent abandons people. Talent never trained for this feeling, so talent has no answer for it. But obsession did. Obsession rehearsed this exact moment on 1,000 empty evenings. So when the noise hits, the body simply does what it has always done. The crowd thinks they are watching courage. They are actually watching preparation that ran out of places to hide. He strikes. The net ripples. The stadium erupts. And in that 1 second, the world decides he is special. They never saw the 1,000 evenings that made the 1 second possible. There is a quieter reason obsession wins, and it lives inside your own brain. Your mind has a filter that decides what you notice and what you ignore. Most people never aim that filter on purpose, but obsession aims it with intent every single day. When you become consumed by one goal, your brain reorganizes around it. You start seeing patterns and chances that other people walk straight past. The obsessed player does not just train more. He sees the game differently because his mind is tuned to it constantly. He reads the defender's weight before the defender moves. He finds the gap 1/10 of a second early. The crowd calls this instinct. It is really attention, sharpened by obsession until it looks like magic. This is the part that should excite you. Because attention is not a gift handed only to the chosen few. You build it from what you refuse to stop thinking about. The talented person thinks about their goal when it is convenient. The obsessed person cannot stop thinking about it if they try. And a mind that never lets go eventually notices the door everyone else missed. That is true on a pitch. It is just as true in a business, a craft, or a life. The world only sees the open door. It never sees the obsession that trained the eyes to find it. Some of you are waiting for me to tell you to go become a footballer. That is not the lesson, and it never was. Almost no one watching this will ever play in a World Cup. That changes nothing about the principle underneath it. The tournament is simply the clearest proof of a law that runs through every field. Talent only ever gets you to the start. What you do in the dark after that decides whether anyone remembers your name. Swap the pitch for whatever you actually care about. A business you keep almost building. A skill you keep almost mastering. A version of your life you keep almost becoming. The same divide appears every time. There are people who want the result and people willing to be consumed by the process. The wanters quit the moment the work stops feeling exciting. The consumed keep going long after excitement has left the room. And this is the uncomfortable part you already feel coming. The world is full of talented people who went nowhere. Gifted, clever, full of potential, and completely forgotten. Their talent was real. It just never met the obsession that would have made it matter. So the gift sat there, admired by its owner and used by no one. That is the quiet tragedy this tournament shines a light on. Not the players who lose, the ones who never truly commit and call it being realistic. So sit with the cost of staying an admirer because it is heavier than it looks. Picture the players who did not make the squad this year. Many of them were gifted. Some were more gifted than the names you will cheer for. They sat at home and watched the tournament begin without them. The difference was rarely raw ability. It was the years of private work that someone else was willing to do. That same quiet sorting is happening in your life right now. Every year you wait, the gap does not stay still. It widens. While you decide whether your dream is realistic, someone less gifted is already obsessed with it. They are stacking the reps you keep meaning to start. They are building the body of work you keep describing to your friends. And one day, you will watch them lift the thing you wanted. You will feel that same tightness in your chest from the start of this video. The difference will not be talent. In many cases, you had more of it than they ever did. The difference will be that they got consumed while you stayed comfortable. This is the real stakes of the World Cup lesson, not a trophy you will never lift. The life you could have built and let slip away. Now picture the other future instead. Picture the version of you that finally committed, the way those players did. The version who trained on the days that felt pointless. The version the world eventually calls gifted, never knowing the cost. Think about where you will be 10 years from now. Both of those versions are real, and they are sitting in front of you tonight. And every ordinary day, you are silently voting for one of them. The strange part is how invisible the vote feels. No single lazy evening ever looks like it matters. But the World Cup turns on exactly those invisible evenings. The world only sees the result. It never sees the 1,000 small choices that decided it long before. Now let me be precise about this word obsession, because it scares people for the wrong reason. This is not about misery. It is not about hating your life until you finally win. The obsessed players who last are not suffering through every session. They are devoted to something they find genuinely fascinating. The reps do not feel like punishment to them. They feel like the most interesting thing in the room. That is the secret hiding inside healthy obsession. You are not dragging yourself toward a goal you resent. You are following something you cannot look away from. There is a real danger here too. Obsession can curdle when it feeds on emptiness. Chasing applause to fill a hole inside you will slowly wear you down. So the obsession that lasts grows out of love for the craft itself. The footballer who endures actually loves the ball. The builder who endures actually loves the building. That love is what carries them through the seasons motivation cannot reach. Most people try to force themselves to grind toward something hollow. That almost never lasts. The people who endure simply found a craft worth being consumed by. And once you find that, the discipline stops feeling like discipline at all. So this is your turn to stop watching the tournament and start training for your own. You already know what your dream actually is. You have known for a long time. You also know, deep down, that talent was never your problem. You have enough. What you have not yet done is let yourself be consumed by it. You have stayed an admirer because admiring is safe. It asks nothing of you and risks nothing in return. But safe is exactly how talented people disappear. The world will not remember your potential. It will only ever respond to what your obsession actually builds. So, the choice in front of you is simple, even if it is not easy. You can keep watching from the stands, calling other people lucky, or you can become the kind of person who pays the private price, the kind who trains on the days the feeling is gone, the kind who keeps going long after it stops being exciting. Nobody is going to hand you that identity. You step onto your own empty pitch, alone, on an ordinary evening like tonight. And if you do, one day the world will call you gifted. They will never see the obsession that made the gift undeniable. And that brings us to the thing nobody warns you about. You can find your obsession and still lose it, because the people around you can slowly talk you out of it. The wrong room calls your devotion unhealthy and pulls you back toward comfortable. The right room makes obsession feel normal, even expected. That hidden force decides more careers than talent ever will. I broke down exactly how your environment shapes who you become. That breakdown is waiting for you next, because finding your obsession is only half the work of building the life you want.